neither by Israel nor by the United States. I have mentioned to you the strong position that was recently made clear to the Security Council by the authorities of Lebanon. Of course, Lebanon is a host country. It's a powerful and important voice in this discussion. We too believe that the role of Unifil continues to be very important in this critical phase where we haven't seen yet full implementation of Resolution 1701. And I would say one thing. Unifil is not an end in itself, and Unifil is not something that is standalone. It's a tool for supporting the implementation of Resolution 1701. So the two are inextricably linked. And we believe that there continues to be an indispensable role for Unifil in support of those efforts aimed at fully implementing Resolution 1701, of course with the understanding that ultimately the responsibility for implementing that resolution lies with the parties.
Let me give a follow-up. I'm sorry. If I were the Israeli authority, I would ask, 1701, it's almost 20 years. It's not implemented. So why there's a necessity to keep Unifil there?
What I would then say, and of course you might ask the question to the Israeli, but to the best of my knowledge, neither Israel nor Lebanon nor any other member state have walked away from their commitment and support to Resolution 1701 as the political platform for a political solution.
If the US goes through with its withdrawal of funding for Unifil, especially that we know that Unifil actually provides the cash for when other missions are suffering the same financial trouble. So what kind of contingency plans do you have? And then a quick follow-up after.
I think on one hand, we've always considered, I personally always considered that it is our duty to make the most prudent use of the financial contribution by our member states. So it's a responsibility that we have. On the other hand, we've always expected consistency from the member states. That is, on the one hand, the member states are giving us our mandates, and if they, through the Security Council, give us the mandate, then we expect consistency in the form of payment on time and in full of the financial contribution to peacekeeping. So that would be, of course, our expectations. Now, we all know that we are already, as the rest of the UN, operating under very severe liquidity constraint. There is, let's face it, uncertainty in terms of the extent to which the payment will be received, and therefore it is our duty to work on contingency planning. Now, it is an ongoing work, so there's not much I can tell you right now in terms of the detail, but it's just our duty to make sure that we are prepared for every possible scenario. At the same time, continuing with a strong advocacy, which is what we are doing, and all of us, including the Secretary General, continuous advocacy to all member states in support of peacekeeping, but also in support of payment of contribution to peacekeeping. I can tell you that the Secretary General himself is strongly involved in these efforts with heads of states and heads of government.
Sorry, Steph, one quick follow-up. You spoke of the importance of Unifil and how critical its role is now in this situation. Can you describe to us, so we understand better, what would happen if Unifil leaves the south of Lebanon? Like, what are your concerns? What would happen without Unifil, so people can understand? Because we're hearing a lot of catastrophic scenarios right on that.
Okay, well, I mean, the easy answer would be hypothetical, but I think I can say a bit more than this. First of all, again, I think that you cannot distinguish or separate Resolution 1701 from Unifil. It's a package. When the Security Council adopted Resolution 1701, it created Unifil to be an enabler, a tool that aims at supporting the implementation of Resolution 1701. And I, for one, would be very, very worried about the future of Resolution 1701 if there is no Unifil on the ground to support the implementation of that resolution, both in terms of the signal that no Unifil would mean in terms of the commitment to all parties to Resolution 1701, but also in terms of the practical support that is currently provided by Unifil. And I have to say that the interlocutors to whom I spoke lately in Lebanon were concerned, of course, that of course all of these hypothetical that they continue to need the presence and the role and the support of Unifil for the various tasks that I mentioned, but also to sort of help mitigate and reduce tensions that remain quite high in the region, as you know.
Is the Security Council, as you mentioned, will be meeting on Monday on UNDOF. I know you don't want to necessarily preview that meeting, but can you give us some sort of sense of what your thinking is going into that meeting on the renewal of the mandate? And then just a quick follow-up on Syria. You said that the interim authorities expressed to you that they are ready to take over security for the whole of the country. What's your assessment on their assessment of that? Right. Thank you.
Well, as far as UNDOF is concerned, we believe that it continues to play an important role, and especially, I would say, in those difficult and sort of evolving circumstances. And I haven't heard any suggestion that the mandate of UNDOF is questioned neither by the size nor by the Security Council. But of course, I cannot speak on behalf of the Security Council. We will see what determination they will make regarding UNDOF and its mandate. When it comes to what I heard from the Syrian authorities, and again limiting myself to UNDOF and the security and situation in the area that is covered by UNDOF. I heard this commitment, and I think it's welcome because ultimately, again, I stated that our objective would be return to the full implementation of the 1973 Disengagement of Forces Agreement, with UNDOF playing a supporting role in monitoring the respect of that agreement. And of course, in addition, of course, to the fact that ultimately it is for the Syrian authorities and only for them to exert full security responsibility of the whole of Syrian territory, from the point of view of returning to full implementation of the 1973 agreement and the restoration of Syrian security presence in the concerned areas will be of critical importance.
Thank you very much, Stefano Vaccara, La Voce di New York Ital Press. If I understand well, you were in Lebanon during that 12 days war, so-called, between Iran and Israel, correct? Were you in Lebanon? Because until a few months ago, basically Iran, through Hezbollah, controlled a lot what was going on in Lebanon. Did you have discussion with Lebanese authority, but especially also with Unifil, about if in the future or the war is going to get worse, what is the danger for the mission, about if there are still elements that can be controlled by Iran and the Unifil could become a target? Did you have that kind of discussion?
I think that what I can tell you is if there is a UN mission which is really trained and experienced, very dangerous security situation, really a belligerence, an environment of belligerence, it's Unifil. So they do have quite the experience. In fact, as a result of what was happening between Israel and Iran, the lots of interception going on in the sky, and with consequences in terms of debris falling, both in the area of operation of Unifil and area of operation of UNDOF. And of course that has led our colleagues to seek shelter on a number of occasions. Now, so that is one thing. Then obviously the events between Israel and Iran, I think clearly had raised some worries, which thankfully I believe have not materialized, of increasing tension in Lebanon, but and we hope that as a result of the cessation of hostilities, I mean, things, at least from that point of view, are for the moment settled. But Unifil remains, even at the cessation of hostility, in an environment that is very volatile, with the degree of danger that still remains significant, and therefore, this is a force, as I said, that is extremely experienced and professional in the ways that it combines both the delivery of the mandate, but at the same time everything that is needed to protect the safety and security of our peacekeepers.
Joe and then Joseph.
Joseph Klein, Canada Free Press. What role, if any, has the UN played in connection with the negotiation of the settlement agreement between Rwanda and the DRC, facilitated by the Trump administration? And do you have any knowledge of what the key terms of that settlement agreement are that you could share with us?
Thank you. Our colleagues have been in touch with the US, and we've been kept abreast of the elements that are currently discussed. Of course, we'll see now. The signature is, I believe, imminent, and therefore, we'll know more about this hopefully in the next hours. But yes, we've been in touch with the US. We've been in touch with other stakeholders and partners, including Qatar, the AU, and the two sub-regional organizations, the EAC and SADC. Obviously, as well with Rwanda and the DRC, and we are ready to fully support whatever needs to be supported as a result of this agreement. I understand that the agreement is fully consistent and in fact supportive of resolutions of the Security Council, including the latest resolution, which I believe is 3771, if I'm not mistaken, but don't take my word for it when it comes to the number. Resolution that calls for, that has all the good messages, basically, including a call for a ceasefire and an affirmation of the important role that MONUSCO plays and could play in the event of a ceasefire. Again, we're fully ready to support the implementation of any agreement, and in particular that one, should it be signed, which is of course what we hope.
I wanted to ask you, since the U.S. is behind in its payments to UN peacekeeping, how is it still funding Unifil, or is it not funding Unifil? Thanks.
Well, I will not enter into the sort of cycle of payment because this is a science in which I'm not really versed, or at least enough to give you some details. What I can tell you is that we are already in a challenging liquidity situation, and all of us already have to make significant efforts at saving. Plus, we have uncertainty when it comes to the amount of cash that will be made available to peacekeeping, and therefore we have to do the needed contingency planning that applies to Unifil, that applies to all missions. We've been working very hard with all of them. This is really what I can tell you at this stage.
Thank you, Javier. Then you, and then we'll close it off.
Javier Tasso from FA Newswire. Hezbollah has been severely hit and weakened by Israel And as a consequence, have you seen a significant reduction in the presence of Hezbollah in the South Lebanon? Or has the Unifil a new perception of this presence and the strength of Hezbollah? Thank you.
I mean, clearly there has been an overall assessment that Hezbollah's military capacities have been seriously weakened. That is what open sources are saying. That as far as we are concerned, I think there's an important point that is always needed to be clarified. Is in the regular sort of incident that Hezbollah had been facing in the past and still faces occasionally, we're dealing with people who do not claim a particular affiliation with a particular group, right? Which has made us vigilant in terms of how we qualify those individuals responsible for this incident, because we have a rule which is very clear. We report as fact only what we have observed directly as fact. And I'm saying this because we have been subject of criticism for not, saying this has been done by X, Y, and Z, but we have to stick to this, otherwise we lose our credibility. We continue to have some, we call it hostile incidents in the form of acts of restriction to our freedom of movement, sometimes hostile acts against Unifil. As you know, there continues to be also a violation from the Israeli Defense Forces in the form of their presence in southern Lebanon and violations of airspace. So yes, I mean the situation remains unsettled. But if you look at the positive side, then there can be also, and there is, a set of conditions that are more propitious for the progress in the implementation of Resolution 1701. But for that, we need, first of all, continued and strong political commitment by both parties. And we also need, I believe, for Unifil to be able to continue its supporting work at this critical moment.
Thank you. You, and then we'll close it off, please.
Thank you for your briefing. My name is Yu from Kyoto News, Japanese news agency. I have two questions. One is a follow-up financial situation. So Joshi has asked you, but just to make sure, are there already any financial impact? And then another is UN aid initiative. It's another topic, but you are in charge of the one cluster. So as I heard on Tuesday, your explanation, but it's a little bit difficult to understand. So could you explain a little bit about your cluster? Thank you.
Sure. Now, we're talking about two different exercises. I mean, the UNAT obviously is the Secretary General Initiative, which aim essentially as eliciting, efficiency, streamlining, avoiding duplication, and making the whole Secretariat and frankly the whole UN galaxy more effective and cost-effective against the backdrop of the financial constraints that we're all experiencing. And yes, DPO is involved in that. It concerns the Secretariat, it concerns what we call the regular budget, but I will not go into the technicalities, but since we are funded both by the regular budget and by the peacekeeping budget, and we've been working from that comprehensive point of view, factoring in both, what is being supported by regular budget and what is supported by the so-called support account, which is the part of the peacekeeping budget which goes to supporting the Secretariat in as much as it supports peacekeeping operations. I'm sorry for this long development, but that is what we're doing, and it's ultimately it would lead to a budget or revised budget proposals. It's technically it's a budget exercise, and now we've been, working very closely with other departments within the so-called peace and security pillar. We have conveyed our proposal to highest authorities, and then we will be pending further follow-up. On the other hand, what we're doing with the peacekeeping mission is contingency. It's a liquidity exercise. It's saving cash. The budgets are currently being discussed and I believe finalized at the level of General Assembly, the Fifth Committee, and therefore what we're looking at is making contingencies, working on contingencies, when it comes to whatever level of cash will be made available to us.
Thank you very much, Jean-Pierre. Thank you, and we hope to have you back soon. And just a reminder, we have the